Hi everyone, I'm Coco Peri. I am a stop motion artist and I live in Stinson Beach, California. It's right outside of San Francisco area, and I'm so excited to be here today and talk to you guys all about stop motion and actually walk you through a shoot that I'm doing from home that you can hopefully do something similar to. So I'm not gonna use tons of studio equipment or gear. I'm just gonna use the basics, and it's something that you can do right from home. And it's gonna be really fun. So before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do. I am a stop motion artist, and my specialty is creating stop motion video content for brands to use on social media, on their website, e-commerce needs, and sometimes for broadcast. But mostly I'm creating short form, like 5 to 10 second, really engaging, fun videos that brands can use on social media and as ads as well. So it's really fun. A lot of my clients are kind of all over the place in terms of location and industry. So I've worked with Starbucks, Nickelodeon, Peak Design, Sony, different clothing brands, food brands, travel brands, even organizations like Sierra Club and World Wildlife Foundation. So hopefully you get the idea that stop motion is something that could be used to tell a story for any type of brand or product, or even just a story that you want to tell. So today the story that we'll walk you through is a work from home desk coming together and setting itself up. I think currently everyone is having to navigate working from home and figuring out how to be productive, create a space and environment that allows for work, and that's been really a challenge for me, but I thought it would be fun to kind of show a desk setup coming together, and I'm excited to take you along with me. What I'm going to take you through are all the steps to create this stop motion. First, coming up with the concept, figuring out what location to shoot in, and then setting up the shoot, animating, and then we'll do an editing tutorial, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about how my business works and how I've created a career out of stop motion. So before we even get started, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page as to what is stop motion. Stop motion is a sequence of images strung together to create the illusion of movement. So it is a video, but it's made from images. So what you do is you take a photo, then you jump in and manipulate the scene, take another photo, jump in and manipulate the scene over and over and over again, and then you string those images into a video, and it makes it look like the scene is moving on its own. So it's basically like magic, and that's what I love about it. It allows you to bring anything to life. And ever since I was a kid, I've loved magic tricks and magic shows. So being able to look around and think, I could make the doors open by themselves, or my laundry fold itself, or the coffee cup fill up with coffee is a really cool effect, and I think you'll find stop motion really fun. So the first thing that we need to do when we're making a stop motion, especially when we're at home, is figure out what an ideal location would be. When I'm shooting in studio, I black out all the windows and I use studio lights and keep everything consistent. And this is because when you shoot stop motion with natural light, you sometimes get what's called flicker. And basically what that means is the natural light is changing between frame to frame that you're taking. So if the sun is shining through in one frame, but then the next frame a cloud had rolled by, you're going to have a frame go from light to dark as your animation is playing out, and it's pretty distracting. So the goal usually is to black out all the windows and use studio lights, but I assume not everyone has studio lights at home, so I'm going to show you how to even make stop motion with natural light. It is important to note that you don't want to use an area that has super direct light or harsh shadows, because you'll really notice the light changing from frame to frame. So the first thing I did was I picked this location of my office, and I put this desk that we're going to be shooting at up against a wall where there's no direct sunlight coming in and it's pretty even lighting. But it's important to note, because I'm shooting with natural light, I'm going to need to have my animation be really consistently shot. This means the time between frames when I'm like stepping out and pressing the shutter needs to be the same every time throughout the video. That way the light will naturally change a bit, but it won't be super shocking and flickery. It'll be in the same way that light changes in a live action video. So now that we have our location, the next thing to do is plan. And my idea is to show all the items coming together on the desk. But with stop motion, one really cool thing is that we can shoot backwards to make our lives a lot easier. What I mean by this is if we style the desk perfectly, exactly how we want it, we can then animate everything coming off the desk, and then in editing, just reverse it and have everything look like it's coming on to that perfect styled end frame. And if we were to shoot forwards, it would be possible, but it would be a little bit messier because as we're animating the objects coming in, we would also have to be thinking, okay, where do I want that to end and where is it gonna look best on the desk? And that's just a little bit more complicated. So today we are going to shoot backwards, and my first step will be setting up the desk and making it look pretty. So here's the desktop setup that we have. I basically just pulled a bunch of things that I really like and that would be on my work from home desk. And these will be all our props. This stuff is not props. This is actually the gear that we'll be using. So let's talk about that real fast so I can get it off the table. This is the tripod I'll be using. This is the Peak Design travel tripod, and it's really great because it's super lightweight and compact when you break it down. And so I always have this when I'm traveling or shooting at home versus my sturdier, more heavy duty tripods are at my studio. So this is the tripod I'll be using, and it's really important to use a tripod when you're shooting stop motion. It's not 100% required, but I really highly recommend it because if you're shooting without a tripod, you'll have to try and line things up between frames, or you'll have to be shooting something that's actually live action, like jumping up in the air or tossing confetti and just rapid fire. That you can do handheld. But when we're doing something where we're like making objects move, it's really good to have a tripod. So this is the camera that I'll be using. It's the Sony A9, and this camera is awesome. I also have the Sony A7R III. That's what I use in studio, and this camera I use when I'm traveling or out and about or shooting at home. And the lens I have on it is the 24-70 2.8 G Master lens. And this lens is so awesome because it's so versatile. Like the range of 24-70 I need, because if I'm in this room shooting this desk, like I don't know what focal length I'm going to need until I set it up. And so it's great to have 24-70, and it's also a really sharp, crisp, beautiful lens. So my videos will turn out very high quality, which I love. And so I already have the tripod mount on here, and I will just set it up here and lock that. And then battery, that's always important. This is a Z battery. If you're shooting a stop motion that's really long, like days, you may need an AC adapter or something that's more permanent power, but this battery will last me even like a 10-hour shoot. It's so strong. And so putting a fresh one in. Okay. And then the last piece of equipment is this external shutter remote. So you can use any like Bluetooth shutter remote. This one has a cable. You can also tether to your computer. I usually shoot with Dragon Frame, which is a software on my computer that also has its own remote that allows you to click the shutter. But I know not everyone has that software, so I really wanted to use gear that I think most people might already have at home. So this shutter remote, I'll just plug right in. And the good thing about using this is once I start animating, I never want to touch my camera. So if I were to actually press the shutter on the camera, that would cause some shake from frame to frame, and it would just make the stop motion look a little bit like less professional. So this allows me to set up my settings and then never touch the camera again and press the shutter from here. Now I can style the desk without any extra stuff on the table. So I know I want this plant kind of on this side and this lamp on this side, which this will be fun to animate because it can go up and down like that. And then the stuff in the middle, I'll probably just kind of eye it. I know that I want to end with this notebook out like that, so I'll leave that there, but it will eventually hop onto this stack of books. And then I have AirPods that have my name on the case, which is super cute. These blue light glasses, and then I think like a phone being on the desk makes sense. And then obviously my Sony water bottle because I always have it with me. So I'll probably, let's see, no, maybe like on the side here. And then this plant, unfortunately, I don't take the best care of, so I need to find the best side of it to make sure it looks pretty and not too shabby. This hello thing also lights up, so we could play with that, but I'm not sure. I might just leave it like that. Pens. Let's see. Maybe I'll end. So right now, remember, I'm setting up the last frame of the animation. So once the desk comes together, this will be how it ends. So I think I'll have like a pen here, although nobody writes in yellow. So I'll probably do like pink. That doesn't really look like a pen though. How about orange Sharpie? So actually this one, see, this is, you're getting really insight into my styling process, which is making a million decisions and then changing my mind, but that's okay because that's all part of the process and making sure you're gonna like what the final product is. So let's see, I'm gonna swap these, and this lamp I should probably plug in case I want to turn it on. Okay, let's make sure it works. Yes. Okay. So yeah, this will be the last scene, probably with the lamp on. So this is what I will expose for. And now that we're basically set up, we'll go behind the camera and figure out what settings we want to use. So I'll make sure that I'm on manual focus. It's really important to shoot in manual when you're shooting stop motion, like not just manual focus, but full manual. So make sure the dial on the top of your camera is on manual and you're on manual focus, because your camera kind of has a mind of its own and it wants to change its exposure and its focus depending on where the objects are in the frame, or if a hand was coming into frame, it might change the white balance. So we want to be on manual focus, manual mode, and a custom white balance. I choose a custom white balance and then just correct it in post and sync that edit across all the photos. So I'll make sure that my white balance, right now it's at auto, so we'll change that. You can choose like any of these different modes. It doesn't really matter, but I like to just do this custom at 5600, and that's pretty much daylight, so I won't have to shift it too much. My focus is in manual, my camera is in manual. Now let's figure out what settings we want. So with stop motion, I talked about flicker before, and especially because we're using some natural light, we want to use a slow shutter speed. Right now it's at 1/60, and usually I shoot like 1/30, and then you can just raise the F to compensate. And that's because for some reason, the slower the shutter speed, the less flicker you'll have. I think it's because you're allowing your camera to let in more light and it has more time to even it out. So We're gonna shoot at 1/30, and that's also why it's important to have a tripod and a shutter remote, because we don't want anything to be blurry. And then ISO being at 100 looks pretty good to me. We have a nice bright day today, so that works. And then I definitely need to straighten my camera. So I'm looking at that level in the middle, and then I'll probably lower it down just a tad, like that. Let's see. Okay. That looks pretty straight to me. My only thought is that maybe I want to be a little bit higher and actually tilt down towards the scene so that I can see more of like the notebook, and so I'm not so straight on. So I'm actually going to raise this up a little bit more. And then tilt down like this. I like that perspective. And then I'll also have to focus. So I have a few things. I'll probably focus like right on the back of the notebook there. Right about there. So it looks a little bit dark, so I'll probably make the ISO about like 160. And I also know that, you know, I'm shooting with the A9. It's a really nice camera. I'm shooting raw photos, not JPEG. So I know that I'll be able to manipulate them, pull out the shadows, bring down the highlights. So I just want to make sure that I'm exposed in a way that allows me to do that in post. Still making sure that everything's straight and in focus. I have focus peaking on too, but I'll go into the menu. You can see if I go, let's see. It's gotta be in this first menu. Peaking setting. So I have it at low right now. I'll turn it to mid so I can see more peaking, and usually I have it at red. It must have been blue because I was probably shooting something red. So now you can see the peaking setting is allowing me to see everything that's in focus, which is really nice. And then when I do go to change the manual focus, it shows me a zoom assist, so I'm able to really see close up, and that's something I love about Sony. Okay, so everything's looking good. I don't love where the glasses are, so I'm probably gonna move these over to here, the phone closer. Let's see how that looks. Maybe glasses a little bit more like that. Yeah, that's looking good. Although I don't like how the water bottle, see in here how the water bottle is covering the stem of this lamp. I don't really like that, so probably move this like to the side here. No, too far out. No, maybe I'll move the lamp in a bit. Push these over. Close. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. You can also see with the grid lines, I'm lining up the center of the notebook to be at that center grid or close to it. So I have my composition set, I have my lighting set, I have everything on manual focus, custom white balance. I think that's all I need. Let's see, any finishing touches? No, I think that's great. I will turn off the lamp and just make sure it still doesn't look too dark without it. Let's see. Yeah, that still looks great. But the end frame will have the lamp on. And that'll probably be the last step of the animation. All right, we're ready to shoot. I have everything set up. This is the final frame, so I have to remember that I'm shooting backwards when I'm thinking through the animation. I have the shutter release cable ready, so let's test it, make sure it takes a photo. Yep, okay, that's good. Now, remember when I said as I animate, I'm going to have to be pretty quick about it and consistent with my moves, so I need to think through everything first, and I'm just gonna run through it off the top of my head. This is not necessarily pre-planned, but I'm just going to imagine how this animation would come together. I think the first thing that would happen is the light turns on, and by first I mean that's the last thing that happens. So the light I will turn off. Then I will take this pen, have it animate into the cup holder, close the notebook, have the notebook stack up there, probably then have the hello sign move back and forth and maybe turn on and off. And then I'll basically just slowly move everything off frame. So in that sense, the animation will be everything comes on frame, the hello sign moves back and forth, the notebook comes down, opens up, and the light turns on. So, sound good? Sounds good to me. Okay, let's go. I always get nervous before I shoot because I'm like, we're really doing this, okay. So here's our first shot. Now the light turns off. Okay. Take another shot. Okay, now this pen starts to move. Just gonna do frame by frame. See, this is the type of thing that's gonna mess up my consistent lighting. Gotta keep it at a fast pace. Okay, now the notebook is going to close. And it's gonna slide up to there. Okay, now the hello sign is going to move a little bit like this and back. And now I'm going to turn it on. Have it do the same little shimmy. And if I want it to move back and forth a few times, I'll do that in post. But when I'm actually shooting, I'll just do it once. So now we'll turn it off. Okay, now we're ready for everything to kind of slide off the desk. So I'll probably start with the little things, like the glasses and the phone and the AirPods. I'm just moving things little by little You definitely want to make sure that your increments are pretty even. So each thing takes about the same amount of time to exit. There's a fly. Luckily our shutter is so slow that probably won't pick it up. Okay, these are off frame already, so that's good. And then this guy can just kind of pop off. Okay, now the water bottle spins off and these might just pop on. Let's let the water bottle come off. Okay, and then I think, yeah, the plant will slide off this way while the lamp slides off this way. And as this slides, it can also adjust up so that it like slides and comes down at the same time. This plant, gotta be careful. That's like the last frame I'm able to do. Okay. Move this a little more. Actually, this, I may just be able to stand here and hold it because I think I'm off frame. We'll find out. I'm gonna move this probably back here. And the lamp also can just come down. Take that shot. Now, these things can just pop in one at a time, I would say. So that means you just take them out one at a time. Definitely like a workout. These pens maybe can like twirl around for a couple frames. And then I'll just pull the pens out. And then hello comes out. And then this mug comes out. And that's it. So we literally just shot a stop motion and I don't know how long that took, but not that long, but I'm almost out of breath because I'm jumping in and out of the frame, going back and forth, thinking about a million things like, what is my animation, which should show you why coming up with a plan and having like a storyboard is really helpful once you start practicing and get an idea of how you want your stop motions to look. I always recommend storyboarding them out, but when you're just at home and you want to do something for fun, hopefully this shows that it can be really quick and it doesn't have to take a lot of time. And I'll show you the editing process now, which is also really simple, and I hope you'll love the magic that we created. First, I am going to bring the raw files into Lightroom. So you can see I've opened up Lightroom. I've called this Work From Home Desk is my project. I'm going to import, and then I will find my device on the side here, include subfolders, and we'll now see all the photos that we took. I know that I don't need these ones that weren't exposed properly, so I won't import those, but I will bring them in this way. Normally, I would probably bring these raw files onto my hard drive first and then import them into the project. But for the sake of time, I'm just bringing them in right from my memory card. So the first thing that I'll do is select all and do Z to A, because remember we shot this backwards, and so we want to reverse it right at the get-go. Then the next thing I'll do is go to the first image that we shot, which will be the last. And I think it's actually this one. So this photo we can delete. Let's see. Remove. Okay. So first I'll go into develop. The first thing I'll do is correct the white balance. I know that the wall in the back is like a neutral, so that will make the white balance how I want it, and then remove chromatic abrasion, enable profile corrections. I'll crop as well so I can see something over here I don't love. I think also for the sake of this video, maybe we'll make it 16 by 9. Something like that. Well, actually, no, I think we'll just keep it like as shot, and then I will just crop it in Premiere. So we'll keep it like this. We won't crop, but then I'll edit this just like I would any image. This is our final image, so I want it to look awesome. And let's see, sharpen it. Maybe bring the highlights down a little bit more. I always like my stop motions to be light and bright, so I bring up the exposure quite a bit. But this also, we have to note, is with this lamp on. So the next thing I'll do is I'll copy these edits. All of them are checked. Then go to the next photo with it off and say paste. And make sure it looks good with the lamp off too. So it does, but I think it's like a little bit dark, so I don't mind it being overexposed when the lamp comes on. And I also think it could be a little bit warmer in general. So let's copy those and try it on this one. Yeah, that's good. I'll bring out the shadows a little bit more and maybe up to 1.30. Okay. Copy. Now I've copied this. I'm going to select all and sync that edit across every single photo. It's pasting the settings. I can go library, view all, and I love watching them like pop into their edit. It's so satisfying. Okay, so now they're all edited, and I can even like review my stop motion by just scrolling here, so you can see already how it's gonna look. I'm also noticing, oh my gosh, I think I have a speck of dust on my lens. See that spot right there? So what I can do is develop and just remove this spot. Is that it? Yeah. Okay, now I'll copy that and paste it across everything else again. Let's see if it got rid of it nicely. There it is, but it's just still syncing, but it definitely did get rid of it, so yay. Okay. Now we have all our photos, so we will select all and click export, and we'll definitely save these in their own folder. I'm going to call this work from home final images. Okay, and then we want to name them their own file names. So work from home underscore, there's 50 photos, so I'll leave it as 01 there. And then quality-wise, I can keep the files pretty small. I'll probably make the long edge 2304. I like to make it a little bit bigger than a 1080 dimension, because once you post on social eventually and once you export from Premiere, it will compress a little bit. So I think having bigger photo files is good for not compromising your quality. So then I'll let this export. Okay, so now I've opened a Premiere Pro project. I have all my images exported, and I'm going to select all and drag them over here. Once they're imported, I'm just gonna drag one in here to create a sequence, and then I'll change the sequence settings to be 1920 by 1080. Okay. And then I need to take all of my images, starting from number 2 to 50, and bring them in here. And then I'm going to go to the end so I can scale this back, because the image is bigger than the sequence. So right about there looks good. And then I'll bring this down a little bit. I can take off these safe margins by going here. And that's good. So now I'll copy that, select all, and then right click and do paste attributes. This will make sure that they are all scaled in that same way. Okay. Now we need to adjust the speed and duration. So they're all selected. I'll right click again and go to speed/duration. This is where you can play around with the frame rate. I will do 0.3. And then you want to click ripple edit, because that'll make all the frames smush together. And then the really fun part, we get to watch it. Yay! So as you can see, there's a few things we'll want to change. One thing is I want it to hold on that last frame, right? Because that's like the final thing. And actually on the second to last frame, we will want that to hold as well for a little bit. So that it would end like this, where the light turns on. Okay, and then I think we have 2 frames here, so we can delete this one. I think I'll delete that frame. I'm basically just going through and saying, okay, what do I like and not like? How's the timing? So then once everything starts popping up, I would like it to go a little bit slower. So I will change the speed and duration of like this frame until here. So these, I will make double the time. And then this one is definitely a big jump when it comes to color, because both of these are causing a lot of shadows, and you can see that it's even flickering in light a little bit because the shadows and also probably the light is changing. But that's okay, because this is just meant to be something fun and something that you can do from home, so we won't be too particular about it, but I do think everything's moving a little bit too fast here. So I'm gonna slow these down. We'll do 5. And that's it. Let's play it one more time. Okay, now I'll save my project, export. We'll call this work from home stop motion final. Save. I will do a YouTube 1080p preset, match the source, render at maximum depth, use maximum render quality, export. It'll tell me my file will be about 19 megabytes, which is good, not too large, and that's that. All right, so now that we've done the edit, we have our final video. I usually post my stop motions on social media, and that is how I have been able to build this career out of stop motion. So if you're someone who's just starting out, or maybe you're a photographer or a videographer, but you're interested in stop motion and how you can build more of a career in it or offer it to your existing clients, I think posting your work on social media is really important. One of the tips that I have is, even if you don't have current client work that you're shooting, to use products that either you love and brands you would love to work with, or just general products that you think would make awesome stop motions, and then post those on social media, tag the brands, and use specific hashtags. So think, if I was a brand and I wanted stop motion content, what would I be searching for? Maybe hashtag stop motion video, hashtag creative content, hashtag creative, like advertising, anything that you think might be something a brand would search for, you want to tag your videos with so they can ultimately find them and then hire you. And when I'm posting on social media, I usually will film 4x5 or 9x16 for stories or reels. That way it's really optimized for viewing on mobile. Since this, I know, is a webinar and you're probably watching it on your computer, I shot it wide, but just something to keep in mind that 4x5 would be ideal dimensions when you're shooting for social media. The other thing about shooting stop motion for brands to use on social media or for you to post on social media is that you really want to think not in like a long form storytelling way, but really a quick, clever, short form way, because videos on social that are 5 to 10 seconds and loop perform best. And I've found that the more work I put out that is like that, that's really short and fast and engaging and still tells a story, but in a really short form way, those are the videos that brands inquire about and that brands see and then reach out and want to hire me for. So I always recommend thinking in your most like quick, concise way when you're coming up with concepts and keeping your videos short, just like this one was. And hopefully that makes it so you can create more and more of them too. I also think that while lots of us are spending tons of time at home, stop motion is a great skill to practice. And like you saw, you can do it at home, you can do it in the backyard. You don't need a fancy studio or anything. So I definitely recommend taking this time while you're at home to practice different effects. Like, you know, we saw simply taking things off a desk, but what would it look like to make something fly? That would mean rigging it with wire and then photoshopping the wire out in post, or making all the book pages turn and using putty to hold them in place. There's all these different tips and techniques, and you can find more of those by following me on Instagram at Colette.Peri. And I like to give lots of tips and tricks and techniques, so definitely send me a DM, ask me any questions that you might have. I'm here to support you, and I'm so excited about anybody else who's excited about stop motion. So if you loved this webinar, make sure to reach out, and I'm so excited to answer your guys' questions in the Q&A. Thank you so much for joining.